This is MJ. I love Tokusatsu, and right now I want to talk about the Ghost Hyper Battle video from Telebi-kun, which was something about the truth about the heroic icons, or the 15 heroic icons, I can't remember. And something that I need to say something right now, and then I'll get back to it later so I don't forget. I saw something on Twitter the other day. It was in the context of like superheroes, or maybe even Tokusatsu specifically. Somebody said a villain is somebody who has suffered and wants others to suffer because they themselves have suffered. And a hero is someone who has suffered and wants to protect people from suffering because they know that pain. And while they can empathize and maybe help people through their pain, they want to protect them from that pain. And that really struck me. It made an impact. It made me think of Kamen Rider. Again, I don't remember if it was specifically in the context of Kamen Rider or not, but it made me think of Kamen Rider because that's what Kamen Rider feels like to me. And now that I'm talking about Kamen Rider Ghost, this was an interesting little special. It was an interesting little character piece, and the reason I say that is because it got into the emotions of Saionji. I don't think there was a fight, except for Kanon used some fighting techniques that she's been learning from Elaine, which was pretty cool to see because Kanon did not get enough to do. Fukami Kanon did not get enough to do in the series that is Ghost. The imperfect, the flawed, the beautiful, the wonderful series that is Kamen Rider Ghost. Anyway, she didn't get to do enough, and that's too bad. But in these farther stories, there is an opportunity to expand on characters and give them the attention that they never had. And it's funny because I wondered if Saionji's death in episode, I think it was like 15 or something, I always expected it to turn around and to develop into something more in the series, and it didn't. And I was honestly disappointed with that. But the exploration that he got, or that we got, into his character in this special was interesting to me. The scenario is this, that somehow Saionji comes back. I think he's in the Ganma world, but it's a little confusing because to save money they reuse sets and just like changed up lighting and stuff like that. And it was said that we replicated this other place in the human world, in the Ganma world, so that it would remind us of that, and so that, I don't know if it was so people could learn about Ganma, or Ganma could learn about people, or what it was, but that was the conceit. But obviously they were just reusing the sets and just dressing them differently to justify it, which is fine. It's Tokusatsu, I get it, low budget, it's a TV, it's a, extra special thing, from a magazine, it's like a free included thing, I think. Anyway, they're trying to talk about why Tenkuugi Ryu had called Saionji a hero. On this picture that he has of him and this scientist who Akari works with later in the show, they thought he was dead, but he turns out he wasn't. Anyway, spoilers for Ghost, I guess. Ryu, and Saionji are all in this picture together, and on the back of it, Ryu had written heroes. And there's an inscription in his book that he gave to Toku, which I don't know if we saw that inscription ever before this, but it's like in the, I don't know what you call it, the front leaf or fly leaf or whatever. But anyway, it says something like heroes are people who dedicate their lives to a thing, and they basically dedicate themselves to a thing unto their death. And that was kind of the ethic Ryu was, pushing to his son. And anyway, I thought that was interesting. I liked that. Toku talks about how he's gonna let his life burn bright, and it seems like a adaptation of that phrase. He wants to be a hero, so he's gonna let his life burn bright, like these, like reflecting the ethic that was in the inscription in the book. So that was interesting, and anyway, Saionji comes back, because he's not dead, but he comes back, or he is dead, but he becomes a Ganma, right? So he comes back, and he's in Ganma world, and he basically puts them in a situation where he's demanding that they hand over their 15 icons, that they summon the Great Eye, or he will destroy and harm, kill, whatever, all the people who are in the now reconstructed Ganma city where all these people can live together. Elaine's family and friends, and the people who Makoto and Kanan met along the way while they were in Ganma world. And because they are heroes, they choose to let Saionji have his wish. They tell him that the Great Eye is gone, and he doesn't believe them. But so they kind of go through the motions, and Toku uses the opportunity to talk to him and to dive into who he is and what he's all about. And we learn that and he does this while he's waiting for everybody to set up the stuff for the ritual for summoning the Great Eye, because he knows the Great Eye isn't going to come. So he's like, oh, there's no harm in it, and I could have an opportunity to reach this guy if I kind of placate him a little bit. And I want to learn from him why my dad would have called him a hero and how they were friends and whatnot. Turns out that Saionji was jealous of Ryu because he had everything and Saionji had nothing. And the ultimate ethic, and I'm going to wrap this up right now, the ultimate ethic of it is that heroes are people who work hard, and through determination and effort, continued effort, they put in the work to achieve their goals, even if it kills them, or until their final breath. And there's this analog between Da Vinci and Saionji, that Da Vinci wasn't chosen to be one of the 15 heroic icons because the guy was a genius. And I guess this is ignoring the thing that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% inspiration, or perspiration rather. So it is about the hard work, but whatever, we'll set that aside for now because it serves the point or the ethic of the story. Anyway, it's interesting. Toku kind of says, hey, you're like Da Vinci, you're a genius. But that doesn't mean there's no redeeming qualities of you, because Toku was able to turn the Da Vinci, the painting, the famous painting, the Mona Lisa, he was able to turn that into a heroic icon. And he's like, look, Saionji, my dad thought you were a hero, even though you were jealous of him and your admiration of him twisted into jealousy. And, he rejected, maybe he rejected you in some ways, but that's not because of who you are. It doesn't mean that you need to be a villain, just like Da Vinci didn't need to be a Ganma and be a villain. Like, this Da Vinci icon is proof that there is redemption for people, and you can be redeemed, and you, in fact, are a hero. And Saionji just leaves, and he kind of... It's a real interesting melancholy. It feels to me like he's thinking... he pulls out he has a copy of the picture in his pocket, or whatever. He has a copy of the picture. He looks at it, and he says, Ryu, I overestimated you. So does that mean that he thinks that Toku is naive and foolish? Or, I don't know what that means, but I liked the uncertainty of it, and I liked the, I like how broad and open the ending was, and it was interesting. I don't know if it was great or anything, but it was definitely interesting, and I appreciated it, so that's all I wanted to say, really. So, anyway, I just watched that, and I wanted to share my thoughts on it, because I like Ghost. I like a lot of what it did, and I think there's some valid stuff in there. And I think the strongest thing that Ghost has going for it is how moral it is. And, the flaws are the flaws, but I think the heart is still there, and it's really pure and good. And, I don't know, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It was interesting. MJMunoz.com is home for all my work. Podcasts and reviews of anime, tokusatsu, Star Wars, and more. Plus my original writings. If you didn't enjoy this, critique me. If you did, leave me a comment. If you really like this, consider tipping me at coffee.com/MJMunoz. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Until next time, be well.